Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 6th of January, comes to you from London. And when I look at my screen in the morning, the first thing I'm doing is looking for percentage changes. And here we see Bitcoin's up 1.5%. The big concern for me today is that the Nasdaq future is down 2%, and I'm seeing nat gas down 2%. So I do take a look at that, and also I'm noticing here the big move in 10-year yields, and so that's a big story as well. In fact, taking it above 1%. So really significant just watching those changes. And then of course the colors just tell me what's going on as well. And then of course I go through looking at the corresponding charts. Remembering this is my long-term weekly, my medium-term daily, and my short-term 60-minute chart, and the corresponding point and figure targets. So we start by looking at the dollar index. It's sinking lower. We saw a little bit of recovery, but that was very much a counter trend move, sinking to new lows. The dollar still has these downside targets on the short-term chart. This downside target, some 19% lower, is obviously a very, very long-term chart, but suggests that we're going back to the levels that we saw at the beginning of the financial crisis back in 2010-11. So that's really quite key. Looking at the euro, we see that we're sitting at 123 against the dollar, so hitting new highs there. This is the move, the consolidation, the move into the consolidation pattern, then the move out of the pattern. We're looking at the yen, we're sitting at 102 against the dollar, so that's stronger yen, weaker dollar, and sterling breaking the 136 mark yesterday, looking all the more stronger against the dollar. We have been as high as 137, of course. That was the first post-Brexit reaction that we saw. Now we're looking higher there, so that trend continuing, weaker dollar being the key. Against the euro, we're at 110.5, so quite significant there that we are just falling back into short-term bearish territory. Overall, across the last several months, we've been around this 110 level, anywhere between 108 and 112, but 110 is the key level. Bitcoin has regained its poise and is now making new highs at $35,000, so that's really significant. This has become a very favoured asset class. We've got an upside target, 40,000 to play for. Looks like we'll move there quite quickly indeed. Looking at the S&P 500 index, we're seeing here that we were up yesterday, but as I mentioned at the start, we're a little bit concerned about that Nasdaq. And if we look at the Nasdaq, it's just struggling a little bit at the moment, although we are still in bullish trend with upside targets. We do have a downside target here. If we make new lows below this level, we activate a downside target 5.5% lower, so that's something to watch. The Dow Jones was up 0.5% yesterday, so that's quite significant as well. We are just seeing here a flattening over the last few months, so that's something to watch. Looking at the S&P E-mini, we're down 0.75% here, so significant fall there on Monday. Recovered a little bit. Looks like we're going to make another leg down. We're down this morning, but as I mentioned at the start, it's this Nasdaq E-mini chart that's the most worrying. We're already lower than the level that we were on Monday. That has activated a downside target, some 4.6% lower, so that's significant. We need to watch that. That means the VIX volatility is up by 1.8%, so we're seeing that trending higher. On the short-term chart, we're above the cloud. On the medium and long-term charts, we still are lower, bearish on the VIX volatility. So the long-term picture is bearish, but the short-term picture is bullish. And of course, the higher the VIX goes, the higher the fear index. So we just need to watch that as well. FTSE future this morning is up 0.8%. And if we look at the DAX in Germany, we're up slightly, and the CAC 40 is also up slightly. So interestingly, we are just seeing European markets poising, not really falling ahead of that future there. So we just need to keep an eye on that. And last of all, we're looking at Asia. Japan was up 1/3%, looking stronger there. The Hang Seng looking stronger. And the really big move this year so far is that Chinese stocks have really broken out, and they're looking set to run. So that's really quite key. The Sensex in India is down about 0.75%, but looking very strong indeed. We've gone from 25,000 to 48,000. We've nearly doubled in the last year on the Sensex, so that's really significant. The Aussie market down 1% overnight, so not looking strong there. Short-term bearish, just testing that support level. We do have downside targets there as well. Gold is next. We're sitting at 1954. So we are just seeing a sideways consolidation, but looking like a break. And most importantly, this move above the cloud is putting us back into medium-term bullish territory. We've got good upside targets to play for. The thing to watch with gold is new highs. If we make a new high, we activate this target to $3,000, some 57% higher. Silver also looking strong. It's consolidated but running again, and we see here that move, the consolidation. We need a new high, of course, to run again, but that looks quite likely with these upside targets. You've got a target here to 34.55. That's 25% higher from here. That's a 1% chart, so it is longer term, of course, but it does look like silver will go higher this year. Copper, one of the most important industrial metals, moving higher here as well. We've gone from $2 to $3.60. Big move in the last several months, so copper looking bullish. The big one is US 10-year yields. Here we're seeing that move above 1%. So we've really leapt there, and we're just seeing political pressure here in the US is starting to have an effect on bonds. But that's the first time we've been above 1% since the crisis. So we are seeing a climb there on US interest rates, and we've got upside targets there as well. So definitely one to watch. Just a quick look at the tech majors. We've got Apple. They're looking stronger, but again, failing to make that new high on the daily chart. That Nasdaq down 2% today is a bit of a concern. Amazon also failing to make a new high. Google actually bucked the trend and did go higher than the September level, but it hasn't really rocketed. Microsoft sitting at 218, again hasn't broken higher. And Facebook also struggling to make new highs. So that is a theme among the tech majors. That is one thing just to worry about in markets at the moment. It's not a sell signal, but we're just struggling to make new highs. Looking at the European energy mix, we start with Brent crude. That's pushing higher. We're sitting at 53.66. At least we've broken above the level that we saw on Monday. So we are just seeing an appreciation in crude. WTI similarly just nudging that $50 mark. WTI just struggling to get through $50. We talked about US nat gas. That's fallen back to $2.63. Quite significant that in that we've seen a lot of push in the price on LNG demand in Asia, China in particular. We found a floor at 227, but we are just struggling to break above there. Coal is through that $66 level. We were as high as above 70, so really significant there that we've just fallen back a little bit. But coal is still bullish despite this quite vicious pullback. Emissions sitting at $33.50. We've got this little mini upside target that was met, and we're seeing here the trend is higher. NBP up 1%. Had a big fall yesterday. Key thing is if we go lower, we activate big downside targets for NBP. For the moment, the trends are bullish. We didn't quite meet the target on the daily chart. On TTF front month, we did. I did do a post on LinkedIn on this yesterday. 1975, we got to there. We'd have these downside targets. New little mini upside target, but for the moment, the trend is still down. We might find support on the cloud. That's one to watch. Taking a look at German power, up 1% today at €50. Still looking pretty good on the trend, and didn't suffer as much as gas yesterday. Nordic power up 2%, looking higher, having really been as low as 12 euros. We're back to 27, so there's really quite big moves there, and it's held on to the gains. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.